Oh, yeah, it's the background I use for work, Bob. But I like it better than the bricks. I've been thinking I need to get rid of the bricks. Okay. Okay. All right, let's just sink into the class a little bit. We're going to talk about some interesting things tonight, if I'm able to. Just take a deep breath. And just step into a place of patience and expansiveness. Just take in the whole room at once. And let your body just slow down to this moment. And let's go into meditation for a little while. I want you guys nice and focused before we talk about any of these things. So placing your attention high in the body at the forehead and crown. You'll have to forgive me. There's a lot of energy moving through this house right now. It's actually good stuff, but disruptive. Attention high at the forehead and crown. Let your eyes fall to a spot on the floor or the desk in front of you, and just anchor them there to get them out of your way. And from there, just begin to breathe. As you begin to breathe, just notice how many other priorities your mind has, and one by one, just let go of them until all that's left is a willingness to be present with the breath. Let's do that for a little while, and then we'll talk. Those of you who are familiar with our practice of moving up and down the mountain, the 3 different energy spots in the body, Just recognize that you're at the top of the mountain in this exercise. Let this whole area just open up and become expansive. As you breathe in, breathe out, and nothing else. Really find your footing in this exercise. I need you open and focused for what comes next. If you'll give yourself to what I'm asking you to do, the energy is present to lift the veil of ignorance that makes everything seem so stuck and confusing all the time. Just rest in that feeling of expansiveness. You don't have to understand any of it. Just rest in it and don't ask it to be anything. Now, from that place, I want you to ask a question. And you can reword the question if you need to. But the basic question I want you to ask yourself is, what is my purpose for being here? What am I meant to do? What am I meant to learn? And I don't mean your purpose for being in this class. I mean your purpose for incarnating on this planet. And then I want you just to hold that question in your heart while you listen from this expansive place up here. And see what you can see while some of the veil is lifted. What is my purpose for being here? What am I meant to learn? What am I meant to do with this opportunity? Take some time with that question. Don't think, just listen. What is the simplicity of my purpose? You know the answer to these questions, but there's a veil between you and the answer that you already know. Right now it's thinned. What is my purpose for being here? Let yourself relax. Nothing to achieve. Just listen and relax. Okay. Now, take the biggest point of suffering in your life, that thing that causes you the most grief, and ask yourself, what are you trying to teach me with this? What am I meant to see? What am I meant to understand? What am I meant to realize? That thing that's been so heavy, stuck for so long. That battle that you fight on a regular basis. What am I meant to see? What am I meant to learn from this? That question's a little harder, but be open for the answer. It's there for a reason. Were any of you not able to receive a clear answer? I'd love to hear from you. You can unmute yourself and speak, or you can put something in the chat. Interact with me a little. I need it. Wait, who is that? Is that Suki? Hi there. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You got a partial answer to the first question. Good. What happened with your second question? Was it nothing at all? Okay. Okay. Who else? Okay. Okay. What did you experience? Okay. You're saying the answers that you got were not related? They don't need to be related. The first question. Well, it's okay. You know, I mean, the your purpose in life and your biggest struggle uh, don't have to be related. I mean, they are related, but it's sometimes your next step is not related to your ultimate step. I mean, it's related in a linear sequence, but it might look very different. There might be some aspect that needs to be cleared up and dealt with. Let's let's talk a little bit about how this works. So, you know, I try to keep things evidence-based on this website, but there are some things that just, you know, you have to have a lot of experience to really understand or be able to talk about. And this is one of them. So you are all awakened beings, right? You are consciousness that at its core is pure, knows literally everything there is to know about the entire universe. But when you come down to earth, there is this veil that gets kind of put over your consciousness that separates you from that knowledge. You know, before you come in, you're pretty much tasked with what you're going to be doing in this lifetime in one form or another. You get down here and things take their course, and sometimes you can get off course because of that veil. But the reason that we put that veil of ignorance over you is so that you can actually learn the causes and effects of things and how to actually meet with the challenges of this world. When you are on a spiritual path and you are really doing the work, you have many moments along the way where that veil lifts. Now, there are some things that you are literally just not meant to see yet. And if that's the case, the veil's not going to lift. And that is for a reason. You know, you have a lot of assistance in this life. You have beings watching over you. We call them different things in different religions, but they're all the same beings. And this is something you can believe in or not. It's not important that you believe in it. But when your feet are firmly planted on a spiritual path, or when they're meant to be, and you have gone off course, you will have experiences that show you these things. For me, I remember the first time that veil lifted for me, it was because I was so off course. I had done nothing to earn it. I was very young, and I just I had not found my footing, and I needed to find my teacher, and it was time for that to happen. And I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own, but I was getting these little nudges, right? When you have this veil over you, your only access to that vast body of knowledge and to the guidance of those beings that are watching over you are these little intuitive nudges that you learn to listen to. Just these gut instincts that you learn to listen to, and little flashes of illumination. But mostly it's just certain directions feel right, certain directions feel wrong, and for the most part, people are so wound up in the stories of this world that those nudges are completely missed. So usually the first thing on any spiritual training is you teach people to listen to those nudges, and what they come to find is that they have to get their mind under control a little bit to even be able to pick up on those nudges. But sometimes if you are off course enough, those helpers that watch over you will actually lift the veil to show you something. For me, there were a series of karmic things in my life that I had caused. And I remember it was such a lifting of the veil that I understood everything. Literally everything in the entire universe, everything that ever happened in my life. It was this unbelievable experience at the age of about 21. And I was just sitting up late at night. I think I was watching that 1970s movie Tommy. And my friend had gone to bed, and I was in Seattle. And a few nights before, I had been visited in a dream by these kind of whispering voices that were showing me some of the pain that I had caused and some of the opportunities that I had to remove pain from people, and that the other people's pain was my pain. But they were just sort of words. And then I had this moment where I was wakeful. I was awake. And the voices came back, just these whispers in both ears at once that I couldn't understand. And then all of a sudden the veil lifted completely. Not like what we did tonight. I mean, it was a complete lifting of the veil to absolute knowledge. And I knew everything all at once. It lasted 10 minutes, maybe. Felt like a long time. And then the veil came back down. But once you know what's on the other side of the veil, it changes you in a way that you can't undo. And I didn't really understand it back then as a veil of ignorance. I just knew something really important had happened to me. And there were a bunch of things I had to take action on the next day, things that were very uncomfortable for me to take action on. But I wrote down a list and I did all the uncomfortable things, talked to all the people that I didn't want to talk to, and found my way out of some of those karmic situations and healed them. And almost instantly after that, I was able to find my teacher. And then I worked for a long time on a very specific path. Throughout that path, there were several times where the veil lifted. Sometimes it lifted for several days. I remember one experience where it lifted for many days, and it was like walking around just knowing why every person you've ever met was in your life. You know, you actually understood how everything is connected. And the thing that was so impressed upon me during those times was the perfection of what we're a part of. We are a part of something so perfect, so orchestrated. It's difficult to describe. But then after a while, the veil goes down again. But you now know all these things about how life works. And it changes your behaviors and it changes your patterns. You know, being awakened doesn't mean the veil is always lifted. There would be no point to being alive if the veil were always lifted. You need a veil of ignorance in order to create challenges through which you can learn. But at a certain point when the veil has lifted enough times, and that happens usually as a combination of a decision of those beings that watch over us and, you know, what you're here to do. When that happens, it eventually has to come back down. Because if it doesn't come back down, there'll be no reason for you to even be here. All of your challenges will be lifted right off of you. And frankly, without going through a lot of challenges, even as a spiritual teacher, you're not really going to be able to help people that much. You need to really have those experiences, and you need to remember what it's like to live in that veil of confusion. But I guess the purpose of me telling you all of this is to let you know that you're actually a part of something really perfect and really beautiful. And the fact that you can't always see that is part of what makes it so perfect and so beautiful. Some of you I know worry about your physical conditions, you worry about death, you worry about all of those things. The name of the game of life is not to live as long as you can. That's not what you're here to do. You know, so you don't need to worry about that. Worry about showing up for all of those challenges because they are there to help you grow. They carry exactly what you need to help you grow. So whatever degree you weren't allowed to see tonight, that was on purpose, not by me, but by your own spiritual helpers. That those parts of consciousness in you that are part of the orchestration of all of this. But let's say you have no idea. Let's say you have, the veil is completely down, you're stuck with the challenge, and you have no idea how to approach it. Step 1, don't shut down. Show up. Show up wide open. Recognize what's happening. You might not be able to fix it right now. There may be nothing you can do. And guess what? That's on purpose. It might be that nothing you do is going to work. And it might be that what you need to learn in this lifetime is how to stay open in the face of it, even when nothing you're doing is working. Can you find your freedom with the challenge still there? No solution. Can you let your love flow? Can you accept what is and find ways to give even while you have this affliction? For some people, that's what they need to learn. For some people, if you can make that happen in this lifetime, you've solved the whole purpose of this life. So there's nothing sad about anything that's happening to any of you. It's all perfect. It's all okay. At some point, you'll leave this realm when this life is done, and for a period of time, all of those barriers will be lifted off of you and you'll understand everything. And when you do, you'll kind of do a review. You'll figure out where you kind of went wrong, and you'll figure out what sort of challenges you're going to need next time in order to work at that again, to work at the things that you didn't figure out in this life. But I just want you to understand the confusion that you experience is on purpose. It is part of the system. It seems like something that isn't working, but it's actually something that's working. It's working brilliantly. It's a major challenge. This earth is a very hard place to be for most of us, but you continue to grow. The more you practice spiritually, the more you will stumble into moments where parts of the mystery of life that needed to be shielded from you no longer need to be shielded. And in those moments, you will have awakenings. And I think probably everybody, every name I see here, has had moments like that along the way in their life. And that just continues. And the veil goes down, but just like when clouds cover over the sky, because you've seen the sun on the other side, you know what's on the other side of those clouds. You don't need to always be looking at it. So it changes you. It changes how you behave. It changes what you learn. But your life is perfect. Your problems are perfect. And all you have to do is show up for them, and that's success. Success is not necessarily the resolution of all your problems. I have plenty of problems, but I show up, and I grow, and I learn, and there's always more. Because we want to get as much done as we can while we're here. This is the place that has the biggest challenges, but every inch of personal power you have ever earned came from facing a challenge. Friction is how it all grows. And that's your purpose for being here. That not necessarily the purpose you would have heard tonight. Whatever you heard tonight is how you personally are here to experience that. How clear is that? Good. The truth usually is. You know, truth washes over you and feels like a relief. Because you're not left damned. You took this challenge on. You don't remember taking it on, but you did take it on. And it's okay. Just keep showing up for it. And what's supposed to happen will happen. Don't worry about the outcome. Worry about showing up and finding ways to stay open, make the best choices you can, but don't shut down in the face of any of it. And if you're doing that, you're doing everything you need to do and everything you should do. And let the rest take care of itself. Because guess what? If all of those problems went away, you're still going to drop dead. You're still going to drop dead. And you might mourn it ahead of time, but the truth is, what comes after that is a major relief. It's a lot easier than living. So give yourself this gift. Give yourself this gift of accepting these challenges and showing up for them. They are not a sign. They're not a sign of a lack of spiritual growth. You're not being punished. You're being challenged. Very different. The brain, we have very punishing minds. We ask, why is this happening? And then just whatever crappy thing someone said to us when we were a kid starts rolling through our head about everything we think is wrong with us. But that's all a lie. That's all just a lie of the mind. Don't worry about any of that and just show up. And stay open. And if you do that, what you will find is that life conspires to help you. It might not help you fix the problem, because you might need that problem. That problem might be the thing you're here to deal with. It might fix the problem. If you deal with it, the problem might go away. But that's not really the goal. That's not the goal of life. Goal of life is not to have no problems. The goal of life is to learn how to stay open and continue growing even when you can't see any sign of benefit to doing so. To open up even in the darkest of moments, the darkest of places, to get up every time you fall down and just keep going. That's the most anyone can ask of anyone. And if you're doing that, you are reaching deeper and deeper into your own evolution. And you're doing a service to the entire world, because when you expand, everyone expands. Everybody connected to you benefits. And I'm reading now your message. In my spiritual world, I simply cannot follow what other people want from me when it does not match what I clearly see I need to do at a given moment. Yep, that's a clear message. And knowing you pretty well, I think that's a really, really good message. I think that one's inspired. Are there any questions about any of that? I want you to carry this with you. And I want you, when you come up against your challenges, to remind yourself of this. That even though you can't understand it necessarily in that moment, that this is happening for a reason. And so you're going to show up for it. And you're just going to stay open. And you're not going to start a bunch of stories about it in your head. And if you catch a bunch of stories, you're going to meditate. And just kind of put a stop to some of those stories. Now, if you find that you have some stories that you just can't seem to let go of in your head, and you start to notice, because when you show up for something, you start to notice where your limitations are. And if you find that it's a bunch of stories you just can't seem to put down, belief patterns that you just can't seem to put down, that's where something like EFT is very useful. And my site has a lot of resources on that. I can work with you one-on-one, but there's also free resources on there that you can utilize. So check those out and work with them a little bit, because they really do work. But the idea is show up. And that's just another way to show up. Here's the roadblock. Okay, I'm going to see what I can do to break this roadblock down and move it out of my way so that I can keep going. If you do that, your life will always be expanding. And by the time you leave this world, You will look back and you will have grown so much that you will have an unbelievable amount of gratitude for the opportunity to have been a part of this unbelievable challenge we call life on Earth. It's a gift. It's the gift that keeps on giving. But it's challenging, but it's a gift. It's where you can get the most work done. And it's an unbelievable service to the entire universe. So, keep up the good work. If there are no other questions, I'd like us just to be silent together for like 5 minutes, just to kind of let some of this sink in. But if there are questions, ask them. right, guys. One more thing. Your energy is set up right now so that this week, if you ask, and this should work at least once, if you quiet yourself and ask that the veil be lifted again, so that you can take a look at some important question with more clarity, or your purpose with more clarity, you should be able to lift the veil. You're going to want to pick a moment where you're prepared, right? A moment where you are already wound down and you're just going to go sit somewhere. You're going to place your attention up here at the crown. You're going to go into meditation. And you're just going to ask that the veil be lifted for you. And then you're going to just breathe. And you should be able to squeeze out at least one more liftings this week. So make sure that you make use of that. Give yourself that clarity. And use that to answer some of your most important questions. You'll know that it's true because as it's coming in, you're going to realize you pretty much already know it. There was just something separating you from it. And when that happens, you want to sit down and write about what you're going to do about what you learned. How are you going to use that to improve your life? And then take some action. This is life's gift to you tonight. So make sure that you use it. I wouldn't wait longer than a week. Are there any questions about that? You can ask it any question you want, but make it a good one. All right, everybody. I'm going to let you get back to your night. I have some things I have to get back to too. But thank you so much for showing up, and I will be here again next week. My pleasure. Thank you. Have a great night.